I'm quite elated to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Chandrasekhar, MD and CEO of KNS Digi Protect Services. With over 32 years With over 32 years of diverse experience in Indian government and IT sector, he is a seasoned expert in areas including data privacy, information security, government affairs, technology, and public policy. He served as a senior bureaucrat in the Indian government for 15 years. He led e-governance initiatives such as $300 million Indian passport computerization project, driving regulatory initiatives as group director, government affairs at Microsoft India for 9+ years. He led IT roles in TCS, IBM, and HCL across system integration, vertical delivery, and regulatory affairs. He represented India on global platforms, speaking and international forums on privacy, technology, and governance, being an advisor and participant in key Government of India committees for privacy, technology, and regulatory matters. So here I welcome Mr. Chandrasekhar to take the lead.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everybody. And a talk after lunch is always a little challenging because one is the food for thought is competing with the food for the stomach. So I propose to give a lot of food for thought. The first thing to remember is that this particular law is very simple to understand, but very difficult to implement. So I always give the example of the COVID virus. So during COVID, if you all recall, we didn't know where the COVID virus is coming from. Is it coming from handshake? Is it coming from cough? It is coming from the lift, or it is coming from the toilet shaft? Similarly, when you have personal data leak, you don't know where the data is leaking from. Is it leaking from pen drive? It is leaking from irate employees? Is it leaking from your network, etc.? So, the task of doing data governance within an organization to ensure that the personal data rights are protected is very challenging. So, what does the regulator do in such cases? The regulator is also acutely aware that putting the lid on the in the bottle to prevent the genie from escaping is always a challenge. So, the regulator will always look for what all the due diligence has a company done, what are the processes that the company has put in place. And so for the same kind of data leakage or same kind of infringement, one company may be let off with a warning and another company may be imposed with a 250 crore fine, because this is not like murder. You have to see the entirety of the facts and circumstances. So if a company has done due diligence, they have trained their employees, they have done audit, they have done everything, and despite that, they have a hacker attack and then they lose some personal data, the regulator will be a little more kind to them. So now let us move into what all the implementation involves. So I'm just presenting my slide, and is it visible, please?
Not yet.
Has it come up? Oh no, let me present it again. Just 1 second. Share. Is it visible now?
Yes, it's coming up. Yeah. You can
It's
do a
visible.
full screen view.
Yeah, I'm doing a full screen. Okay, so now we dive into the DPDPA rules. So the DPDPA Act has laid out the broad contours of what the major principles are as far as protection of digital personal data is concerned. But at the next step, the rules give some of the specifics as to how this law is to be implemented. If you see, being from an engineering and consulting background, I am very fond of schematics, block diagrams, and things like that. So I have tried to decode the draft DPDPA rules with respect to five major players and five major actors. Who are the actors? The actors are the data principal, number one, data fiduciary, consent manager, data protection board, and the government. These are the five major actors. Then you have 22 different rules. So the rules are for different actors. As you would see, the maximum number of blocks are under the category of data fiduciary. That is, the entity which is holding the personal data has got the maximum amount of work to be done. And as pointed out by my esteemed panelist, this law does not exempt anybody, whether it is a pawn shop owner or Tata Sons and everybody in between. Everybody is covered by this act. So, as a data fiduciary, there are a lot of compliances which every organization has to undertake. Of course, the government is also designating a special class of fiduciaries called significant data fiduciaries who will have higher level of compliance, and the government is going to go a little slow on startups and small and medium enterprises and exempt things like your family communication, personal communication, some kinds of employee communication, etc., in order to keep the wheels of business moving. So, what does one do after you have decided to get compliant with this law? The first step to take is to find out where in the ecosystem do you stand. So whether you are an elephant or you are a mouse or you are a tiger. So on the top, you see the kind of compliances which are written, which is privacy policy, notice, DPO, data protect privacy, impact assessment, etc., etc. These are the compliances which have been laid out in the act. And in the vertical thing, you find the different kind of entities. First is the startup, which has got less kind of compliances. Then you have ordinary data fiduciaries, significant data fiduciaries, and so on and so forth. The private sector will fall mostly in category 2 and 3. So once you know what category you fall in, you will be able to determine what kind of compliances or what all compliances you need to undertake. So this determines what is the level of the problem or the challenge that your organization faces. At the next level, we get into the implementation. In the implementation, we do the following steps. Or you can see the implementation as four big quadrants. If you focus on the innermost circle, the innermost circle is as is analysis, to be analysis, operate and refine, and towards excellence. What is as is analysis? As is analysis is the current state of the patient. That is, what is the current state of your organization with respect to compliance with DPDPA. So, your consultant will find out what are the areas from where you are collecting personal data. Where does this personal data flow? Who are the people who handle this personal data? Is it absolutely necessary for all these people to be viewing their personal data? And uh, what all you can do to find out where all your data is flowing. This is very important, especially with respect to your archival data. So every organization has got data which might be several decades old. The DPDP Act does not exempt data which was collected before the law came into force. So, for the data discovery, there are some technology tools which will crawl through your entire database and take out those that personally identifiable information which is lying in different parts of your organization. So, it will give you an X-ray map of where all the PII lies. Because after all, if you are trying to protect something, the first step is to know what all needs to be protected. After this, the data flow analysis is done, which is what I just told you, that where all in the organization does the data flow, who are all the custodians, is the data being overshared or undershared, what interventions can be made in that. Then you have application audit. So your website or your mobile app, which is collecting data, needs to be audited, not from the security perspective, but from the privacy perspective. A lot of people they conflate these two concepts, which is security and privacy. So your app may be 100% compliant with respect to cybersecurity. You could be having a very nice and very mature cybersecurity practices, but you could be having no consent. You could be having no notice. You could be collecting too much of data which is unnecessary. You might be retaining data well after the purpose of collection is over. So all these are deadly privacy sins. So it is not enough for you to be compliant from the technical point of view or the security point of view. Your applications and your websites need to be audited from the privacy point of view. Then you have what is known as the impact assessment. So the critical functions of your organization are examined, and the areas where there is high risk, there an impact assessment is done of what will happen if any data is lost from there. Then we come to the to be analysis. The to be analysis, it essentially involves people, process, and technology. And here I am fond of giving a very simple example. During summer vacations in all organizations, you get a lot of intern applications. So these intern applications containing the complete biodata and everything floats all around the organization without any control. Now this has got a potential for data leakage. So, what do you need to do? All that you need to do is you need to send a circular in your organization that whenever an internship application comes, please send the application to such and such a link and please delete it from your computer. Now, that one person who is getting all the internship applications becomes responsible for those internship applications. At the end of the internship period, that person will then give a report that we got 100 applications, out of whom 20 were selected, all of them did their internship, and 5 candidates were found very good for future reference. And we have retained the CVs of those 5 candidates with their permission and deleted rest of the thing. So this is an example of how a people and process intervention with minimal cost improved the privacy posture of an organization enormously. Then you have technology intervention. So suppose you are exchanging data which is very sensitive, you could anonymize it, you could mask it, you could encrypt it. There are various technology options available depending on the sensitivity of the data that you're handling and depending on how much cost you want to incur. So suppose you are having some biomedical kind of data which is very critical to your innovation and your business model, then you will impose very high level of encryption in order to share that kind of data. Then you need to go into the operations, which is awareness and training. So just like you had posh training in various organizations, now privacy training will soon become mandatory. You need to harden your applications both from the security and privacy perspective. Then you need to encrypt or anonymize your data. You need to monitor what is happening within your own network, and you need to be able to handle the data principal request. That is, anybody whose data you have collected, if that person wants that data to be modified and changed or erased, you should be able to do that and keep a log of that. And then you need incident management. So most organizations do not have an incident management plan. They do not know who will contact the data protection board, who will interface with the public, what will be the advisory which will go out, what will be the communication which will be done, who will be handling the cyber insurance, who will be handling the hacker or the ransomware. So this plan is not properly documented in any organization, nor is it properly rehearsed. So incident management should be a proper documentation, and then there have to be exercises done on incident management. Then you have remediation. For remediation, you have to have privacy notices and policy within the organization. Consent management, if you are a fiduciary who has got a large number of clients, then you need to have some kind of a technology intervention for having a consent management. You need to do data governance. You need to have privacy enhancing tools. These tools could be features of many products. For example, your Outlook, which you use for your email, it has got a lot of privacy features which you may need to enable. You need to appoint a DPO, and you need to have a robust contract governance, because most organizations, they are still living with the contracts of the past. But now there is a new reality, there is a new liability which could come upon you. So all your contracts with your vendors and with your cloud service providers and other kind of providers have to be crafted in such a way that you will not have any liability should there be a data breach. And now we come towards the fourth quadrant, which is towards excellence. So if your organization is compliant, if you have taken all the trouble for compliance, it is worth the investment to go in for a certification. Because you might be very good, you might be the fastest runner, but unless you get the Olympic medal, nobody will recognize it. So in order to get this, you need to have a proper certification. There are ISO certifications available both for information technology and for privacy. ISO 27001, ISO 27701. So these, if you have, you can proudly display it on your website. And once you have done that, all the stakeholders and all the people in your ecosystem, they are assured that the minimum level of security and privacy hygiene is definitely being met in your organization. You may need to deploy privacy enhancing tools, and you need a partner who can monitor the law and regulation and keep an oversight on the organization. Besides this, you may also have to do annual audits depending on whether you are a significant data fiduciary or an ordinary data fiduciary. Then, so all this has been done. So what should be the next steps? So the next steps usually are an awareness session for the top management, because whatever you are listening here, it's of no value unless your top management is convinced. Unless the top management is convinced, they will not have any budget allocated for it. They will not bless the project. So usually for all organizations, we recommend that there should be a session for for the top management, because tone at the top is very important for getting the successful implementation. Once there is an in principle approval of the project, then a project plan is made and a budget is arrived at, and the budget is approved by the board or by the CEO, whatever case may be. And then you go for selection of an implementation partner, and after the budget exercise is done, you can compare between various vendors and then go for the implementation partner. Then you need to set up a project management unit, because privacy is a journey, it is not a fixed destination. So, but you can reach a certain level of compliance with a effort of 1.5 to 2 years, and after that the effort for maintaining the same level of compliance is not very high. And you need a throat to choke inside the organization for pushing this entire project forward. And that is why you need to appoint a DPO, and you need to create a committee comprising of the entire C suite, so that all decision making for budget or change of process or change of technology, etc., it happens very fast. So, as I said before, understanding of the law is not very difficult. It may take you maybe half a day or one day, but implementation could take several months depending on how mature and how complex your organization, and how mature and how complex your business processes. Now, who will help you for this? KNS DG Protect is an organization which is focused in the area between pure law and pure tech. So you can call us a legal tech kind of a company or a reg tech kind of a company. So we are not into offering legal opinion or legal advice. We give services which encompass the entire gamut of the implementation of once the law has been interpreted to the time that the law has been completely implemented in the organization. So this involves regulatory advice. It could mean audits. It could mean business process reengineering, deployment of technologies, certifications, training, etc. And who we are? We are a team of three in the leadership level. That is me. I am a former bureaucrat with experience in technology. Mr. Jyoti Sagar, who is a promoter and advisor in our company. He had founded two law firms, Jyoti Sagar Associates and KNS Partners. And Mr. Rakesh Maheshwari, who was in the Ministry of IT for over 35 years and who played a part in drafting of this law. So this is the leadership team. Happy to take your questions, and all the very best for a superb and safe implementation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Chandrasekhar, for enlightening us with your in-depth knowledge and guidance.